Let's now finally start building our application by writing our very first lines of HTML code. But before we can do that, we need to first create a project folder. Now you can do that anywhere you want in your file system. I will simply go here to my desktop and create a new folder. And since this project is called Today I Learned, I will simply name this folder Today-I-Learned. Okay, let's open it up also, because I already have the starter files here that we downloaded in the first section. So right here. And so now I'm going to move these two files into the project folder that I just created. And so you should do the same right now. And then you can even get rid of this folder right here. So now we only have our project folder, and in here we have the two starter files that we are going to need a little bit later. Okay, so let's move back to VS Code. So the code editor that we installed in the previous lecture, and then here we can open this project folder. So we can either click on open here or here in this left sidebar. And that doesn't really matter. So we just click open folder and then this one. So we don't select any file, we simply select this entire folder. Then hit open. And so now this folder is actually our project folder. And we can see that because here now we have the name of the folder. So Today I Learned. Okay, then we can close this one up. And now let's create a new file. So our very first HTML file. So we hit this small button here, and then we call it index.html. So the .html is of course a file extension for HTML files, and the name of index is the usual name that we always give to the main HTML file of any website. So this is a standard name, index.html. All right, and so now let's start writing some HTML. So every single HTML document always starts with the HTML element. So HTML, and then VS Code will actually automatically create the closing tag for us. So remember how we learned in the previous lecture that each HTML element has an opening tag, then some content, and then a closing tag. So here we don't have any content yet, but we will place it here right now. And now in here we can have other elements. Now in the case of the HTML element, it needs to have exactly two child elements. So two elements that are nested inside of it, because they are part of the common HTML structure. So here we always have a head element, and then we also have a body element. So just like this. Now the head of an HTML document is the part that is not displayed in the web browser when the page is loaded. So this is where we place stuff like the page title or links to CSS files. So let's actually start with that title, and for that we can use the title element. So we write title, and then here we can place the title. And so with title, what I mean is basically this title here that we will see in the browser. So up here in this tab bar. So let's actually give it the name of the app that we're building. Today I Learned. Okay, let's save it just to make sure. And actually to give us a bit more space, I'm going to close down the sidebar here. So for that we can just click on the Explorer icon here. And so now we have a bit more space. Okay, so for now that's enough for the head, which again is the part that will not be visible. But now here we have our body. So most of our HTML will actually be in here. And let's start with one very popular element, which is the heading 1 element. So for the main heading of the page. And let's just start by writing here, hello world, which is a very common line of code or a line of text that we write when we first learn to program. All right. And so with this, we are now ready to actually see our results in the browser for the very first time. So to do that, we can actually simply go ahead and open this index.html file in the browser. So we can double click it and here it is. So here we see the title that we wrote right here. So today I learned, we wrote inside the title element, and so now it is right here. So the browser has rendered it right here in this tab. And then, of course, we have the H1 element. So this one here is now translated to this big text. So just as we learned in the previous lecture, web browsers are able to basically translate the HTML code that we write to a visible output, such as this that we have here. Okay, so as I said, here we have the very common HTML structure, which is basically the same in every single HTML document that you are ever going to write. So it always starts with the HTML element, and then in there will be a head and there will be a body. And then inside the body is where we can get basically really creative. So we can write all kinds of HTML here, which is what we're going to do over the next few lectures. For now, I just want to show you a nice trick with which we can automatically write this structure basically in VS Code. So all we have to do is to write this exclamation mark and then hit tab. And here it is. So here again, we have HTML, and then inside we have the head and the body. All right, so let's actually delete this here because this part here is a bit more complete. So let's get rid of that. And here we can again write today I learned, and then our H1 element again. And actually now we can write also today I learned right here, because that's the name of the app. And give it a save. And if we now reload the page over here, then of course that big heading changed to the text that we wrote right here. So here in the head, we now, besides this title, have some other metadata. For example, here this character set that is being used on the page, and then some other stuff that is not really important for us. So again, what matters to us is what goes here into the body. And so this is what we will start filling up over the next few lectures.